Welcome to Natural Born Talents. Today's video is about the empath, or being empathetic, as well as synchronizing with someone. In my experience, the two functions, higher level functions in humanity, are different from one another, but have similar purposes. Let's start with the empath. The empath, or being empathetic, in this case, in the spiritual meaning, is to pick up energy that is around you or from other people and interpreting it into psychological meaning. If somebody's angry, for example, you'll pick up their energy of rage. If the rage is so powerful and strong, for example, it will linger, and if it lingers, an empath will pick up that energy field, or sometimes called morphogenetic field. Now, if you're an empath, you're going to pick up all kinds of energy from people, your surroundings, and so on and so forth. The good thing about that is you can see who the toxic people are by simply being near them and picking up their vibes, so to speak. Now, the problem with this, though, is that if you're stuck in the matrix, if you're put in the matrix to serve the dark side and only the dark side, you're going to pick up all these energies and won't be able to escape it. Now, the dark side knows this, so they're going to make a lot of mandates and stuff for you to stay at home so they can feed off of you more easily. So I suggest that you get out as much as possible and be active as much as possible. Now, the second part of this video is about synchronizing with people. When I had my near-death experience, so to speak, when I was woken up and saw the other side, the angels taught me how to synchronize with people so the information goes both ways. An empath will just pick up energy and understand what that energy is. When you synchronize with somebody, you do this willingly. You connect yourself with another individual or dimension or energy, and you can read their thoughts and they can read yours. And the reason for doing this is that if you just pick up a lot of negative energy from people from the matrix, you can turn around and say, yeah, you're in the matrix is connected to the inferno, you will lose your soul in this, you might want to quit. And having said that, though, again, I'll point out the individual will of the human matrix is very, very difficult to change. Some of the people that I'm synchronized with, for example, are the egotists. And again, as always, when I synchronize with them, they're just dead souls. There's nothing in them. Some people call them demonic souls or demons or Satanists. And all of that, to one degree or another, is true from my experience with synchronizing with these people. They do seem to have very limited thinking. It's only self-serving to survive. And the second thing is they do seem to worship very dark demonic beings, such as angels and dark angels, the moralistic ones, and or Satan and the demons. Now, I've synchronized with Satan and the moralistic angels at one point, and it was just so they could show me how they think and how they work. And I have to say, yeah, you have your game. Yeah, it serves some people, but I think the other deities out there, the other dimensions, are much better than the Matrix. So when I leave this, I certainly am not coming back. And I will say, while I was on the other side, that not only that was going on, I did synchronize with some of the other people, including friends and families who have died in this life. And they all said, you know, we just didn't want to go through the Matrix game. We didn't see any purpose in it. And our ancestors looked at it and totally agreed. There was very little people can do when the Matrix goes to the dark side. The best thing you can do is first get yourself in a position where you're comfortable and enjoy life, and then see what you can do with helping others and wake up and move on. And the way that I do this now is that I synchronize with people who I know are not Satanists. I know who are not willingly being a part of the Matrix. I can't help them. But the other ones who are not part of the Matrix and don't will it, Well, we exchange information. I get them to see them to grow in different ways. I usually work with young children for this reason, because many of these kids will probably make it to the transition. And I have synchronized with both, of course, the transition and the dark side of the matrix, or the inferno. No matter what you want to call it, to me it's all the same, just different forms of it. And again, both serve their purposes. The dark side of the matrix is really to serve the purpose of the egotists, who can't grow up, who don't move on, who want to control people. And those people will be stuck in there forever and ever and ever. And eventually, some of the angels have pointed out, we do destroy some of them because we just can't do anything with them anymore. And when you see a person who is completely broken and mentally impaired, or they're literally gone, that is what you're seeing, is you're seeing one of the carnage of the dark side of the matrix. And of course, certain world leaders, authoritarian leaders, come to mind. Now, having said that, there is the transition, and the transition is really about everything that isn't in the matrix. Now, Satan, when synchronized with Satan, he pointed out to me very clearly that the world of the dark side of the matrix and his world and the fallen angels is very limited. It's very dark. It's very stupid. And those people and beings who reign supreme in that world look intelligent and all-powerful, but on the outside, people can see that these beings are actually very dumb. They can't spiritually grow. They cannot function with outside of their world. So instead of growing up and moving on to other dimensions throughout the universe, they try to pull people into theirs. And those people who follow these entities, you're really dumb. You're really stupid. Because in the end, when you get your little privileged life in your little game, what they do to you is they just toss you in the inferno, or they break you, and your life is over. And if you need proof of that, let me put it to you in another way. If you look at some politicians who have millions and millions of dollars, they're in their 80s and they're still pushing their agenda. Why would they do that? And the simple answer is because once they stop doing that, they stop serving their master. And when they stop serving their master, their time is up, and they throw them in the inferno, which they can't stand. They hate it themselves. So the reason they push their agenda over and over is as insane as is illogical as it is. They will do this because as soon as they stop, they have to face the truth. They're psychotic. I mean, if you're in your 80s with millions of dollars, why not retire? Why not enjoy a good family life at home playing with your grandchildren? And again, it's because they're obsessed. They can't stop. Much like the cult follower who just refuses to see that they're following some demonic cult as opposed to what they believe. As soon as they stop, they have to face the truth. They're living in denial to mask that truth. And if you want to leave the matrix, you cannot live in denial. You must go inside and find what your purpose, who you are, no matter what it is. There's no exception to this if you will it. Even the smallest of souls can do this. You just have to do it. And once you do this, you start to move forward. But again, the egotists will refuse. I've tried and tried with many of them, and they just live in denial. They can see the matrix at times, they understand it, but they won't look at themselves and how they're connected to it and how they're a part of it. And this is one of the key things to observe when you're looking at somebody who is a part of the matrix, and you want to know what function they're in it. You can explain any of this to them, and there are many videos out there who are saying the same thing, albeit slightly different view. That when you explain this to the egotist, that they can maybe intellectually understand it, but when they apply it to themselves in their own lives, they'll immediately put up barriers and say, I'm not one of them, it's not me, it has nothing to do with me, or they'll be condescending to you, and so on and so forth, as I explained in other videos. So to conclude, if you're an empath, I suggest you start being aware of how to synchronize, do this on a conscious level, and see if you can bring in love, joy, play to people in your life. When I do this, life becomes much more enjoyable. I feel I have greater purpose. The people around me appreciate what I do, and they bring love to me as well, and it's a wonderful exchange. It's not a one-way street like in the dark side of the Matrix. You serve us, we give you nothing. It's an exchange, and that's another key difference to recognizing people within the Matrix and those who are not. You have something to offer, I have something to offer, and we exchange. And that's how spiritual growth is done in the transition. In the Matrix, it's the egotists over the rest of society, and people are right now are scrambling to be egotists so they don't have to struggle and fight the crap, but they're making a mistake by doing that. Because in the end, you will be corrupted by the Matrix and you'll have to stay in it, and eventually could destroy yourself utterly. The Matrix is really dark, it's really empty, it's similar to the movie The Matrix. Oblivion would be another movie you might want to look at. Another movie you might want to see that sort of shows this in another way is True Lies, which is a fascinating take on the egotists, their sycophants, and of course the individual who's kind of stuck in the Matrix. All of these, again, Hollywood gives us all kinds of hints on how the Matrix works and other realities that are outside of the Matrix, and it's always fun to see. But when you're stuck in the dark side of the Matrix, it's really awful, and there's no describing it. I know people just want to get out any way that they can, and I suggest that the best way to do this is not take any drastic actions, but see who the people are in your life pulling you down, disconnect from them, and connect to people who want to move forward, who want to spiritually grow, who exchange, who give and take, because those are the people that are going to make it to the transition. And the transition, again, once you're there, you will forget everything dark in the Matrix. You won't even remember it. If somebody brings it up, you said, yeah, that was awful, I don't want to go back, and that's it. And you'll move on and heal any kind of emotional, psychological, spiritual scar that you have very easily. It's amazing what the transition's all about, and I wish you all luck getting there. But having said that, and the final thing I will say is that while we all are stuck in the Matrix, and I even hear my ancestors and other higher beings saying to the angels, enough's enough, end this dumb game. It's only going to serve the egotists, and you've checked most of them, well, what they are and what they do. So we're not getting anywhere with this. Can we move on? And again, I have to say, I cannot tell you when that happens or how that happens. There's many possibilities. It could happen tomorrow. It could happen through a nuclear war. It could happen through just the egotists get tossed in the inferno and the rest of us get to play. There's many ways this could unfold. It's countless. So which one is being chosen to go which way, I don't know at this time. And that's unfortunate, because I'm as impatient as anyone else. One more thing I'd like to point out in this video that is not related too directly, but is somewhat related to this, is that the reason Natural Born Talents was created is because of synchronizing and being an empath myself, in order to train others to do the same thing. Subject of auras is very much related to that. Those are morphogenetic fields placed on the soul in order to work out issues and spiritual growth that's within the Matrix. And again, I'm talking about the inner core auras that never change until death. Not the outer layer auras, which will change on a daily basis and which many people can see or meditate on. They're two different subjects. I'm not saying the latter is wrong, I'm just saying I don't find it useful for practical application in the world as it is now. The auras that I synchronize with do have practical application in this world. If I point out somebody is a red aura and I can say, hey, you might want to live your life this way because you'll be happier if you do so, they will find out that that's actually true. Or this relationship won't work so well because that person's aura is blue and this one is green and they clash, so on and so forth. All the other information that I've seen that are like blood type or IMFJs or all these other things. While not wrong per se, they don't seem to have the same practical application the inner core auras do. So if you have any questions on that, please leave it in the comments section below. I hope that the book that I'm working out will be out by the end of December or latest January. It's actually finished, but I'm working on a test that will make it easier and more accurate to find out which your inner core aura is. And I think this is very important because it will distinguish inner core auras as being very accurate and practical in daily life as opposed to these other gimmicky trends. And again, I'm not knocking them. Astrology, all of these things, they do have their meaning, they do have their purpose. I just don't see them as practical. Oh yeah, I'm a Heoki empath who's a Libra, and I have a violet blue crystal aura. And I look at people when they say that and I say, yeah, but that doesn't really mean a lot. What are you going to do with your life with that? But if I see, say, an orange aura who has an inner core orange, and they are wanting to be a doctor, and I look at them and said, who told you wanted to be a doctor? And they said, my mother and father are pressuring me to be a doctor. And I said, well, don't you really want to be a stuntman or a pro wrestler or go out and hunt wild animals? And they look at me with these wide eyes and their faces saying, yeah, how did you know? That's the purpose of the inner core aura, is finding your liaison d'etre, your ikigai in Japanese, your reason for being. And while in the dark side of the matrix it seems to have less of a meaning, it's still very important, because the happier you are, the further you will be moving away from the matrix. You have to remember, things like politics and stuff will pull you further down into the matrix. That's why everybody doesn't want to talk about politics, for example, these days. It's annoying. And how you fight the matrix, how you fight the dark side, is going to be up to the individual and how you do that. There are many ways of doing that. The red auras will probably band together and start making groups and stuff to fight oppression. And of course that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. You probably should. But of course there are other ways. Synchronizing, being an empath, training yourself in these areas so you can work with individuals, which is what I do. I work on the micro level of fighting the matrix, not the macro level. The micro level to me is much more important, because these are getting souls out of the matrix who want out. The macro level can be fought with people who have auras that are better designed that way. So I suggest that if you're not out there shouting and screaming and you feel guilty, don't worry about it. You can find another way that suits you. In the end, the matrix, whether it takes hold or not, won't matter to the individual soul who isn't going to be a part of the matrix. You will pass. You will move on to the transition regardless. It doesn't matter. It's all the Hollywood movie for the egotists. It has little meaning outside of that. But while you're in the matrix, you can learn these techniques to help yourself and help others to get out. And to me, that's much more important than anything else. Because when I see someone on the other side of the matrix, which I do from time to time, we play, we love, we have joy, they're my real soulmates. We laugh at the matrix because it's how silly it is. We don't care because we're not a part of it anymore. And to me, that's much more important than anything else. Well, I hope you found this video interesting. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments section below. I do realize that a lot of people are having problems believing a lot of this stuff. Waking up is very difficult for a lot of people. And a lot of people are going to stay asleep because they want to be in the matrix. I've synchronized with them and they just prefer it. They don't like struggling. They don't like spiritual growth. They just want to exist. As strange to me and my ancestors as that is, it's what they do. And there's nothing I can do about it. So again, if you want to have peace in your life, I suggest you work with people who want to move forward. It's much more fun. The last thing I'll say about the matrix, as dark as it gets, there was a saying in one of the old horror movies, zombie movies, I think it was Dawn of the Dead, where they said that when hell is full, the dead will walk. And in a way that's sort of true. When hell gets full, the matrix will collapse and nothing but zombies will be walking around and our planet. And they don't have to be flesh-eating ghouls or anything like that. They're probably just people who stare at their phone or stare at their computer and just shut down and have the Matrix decide what is right and wrong for them. That's probably how that movie should have been really made, but, well, let's hope this crap ends soon and we get back to what this world is really designed for. Well, that's all for this video. I hope to see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.
Six o'clock and once again you're not there, and I know this time